Okay, so I know I need better lighting and probably better makeup because as you can see, I have um some major bags under my eyes. But today is January 3rd, second day of my vlog, and um I guess at this point my daughter and I are definitely not in a good place. Um Obviously, she is a recovering addict, about a year and 3 months clean. However, she has recently gotten into a new relationship. This is probably her second one as she has been out of rehab. Um, the other one was also with someone that she met through NA. This one is also someone that she met through NA. And he is currently living in a halfway house because he had, I guess, I don't really know the circumstances of what exactly happened, but in a nutshell, he got really, really high, had a police altercation, and I believe he had a gun in hand or on him, something to that effect. Again, I don't know all the details of it. But anyways, as most adults know, that you can play out if you go to rehab and you live in a sober living facility or a halfway home or something like that as a part of your sentencing or a plea deal or something like that. And especially here in Southern California, if you haven't had anything in the past before. So anyways, I know I'm making this a lot much longer than I need it to be, but not that I'm knocking anybody trying to get better. I mean, that's first and foremost. I think that if you are trying to better yourself, better your life, better your situation, like, that's great. However, I do feel at a certain extent that if you are trying to better yourself and different things like that, maybe a relationship may not be the number one thing on your list or a main focus of yours because you're still working through a lot of your trauma. And me personally, I have come to find that working out your trauma on other people is extremely painful. Number one, for the other person, and also unnecessary for you and for somebody else, and causing that kind of pain. It's just not something I would want to do to anybody. But I'm guilty of it as well, first and foremost. And I understand that when you're young, you don't necessarily understand these things. But anyways, to kind of give you a little bit more feedback on this, on Christmas Eve, she was going to a meeting, and before she went, she asked me, now keep in mind, my two boys, my 16-year-old, my 18-year-old, and my grandson, and my daughter all live here. So she was asking me if it was okay that after the meeting, if she brought him over here and he could spend the night at our house. Now, number one, I've never met this person. And number two, as I have said, I have a 16-year-old. And unfortunately, his father has not been the kindest person. And honestly, at every single point has tried to make things more difficult, either legally or any other way. I mean, we'll get into that later on, talking about my traumas. But, anywho, before I said anything to her, number one, I was like, I really wanted to have a conversation with her about where my head was and why I was kind of wanting her to just think about things for a little bit. And I was like, well, number one, your son's here. Is this how you want him, like, you want him to meet your son? And she was like, no, he's not going to meet him. He'll come here after the meeting and he'll spend the night. And early in the morning, I will take him back. That is what she said. So automatically a red flag. Well, another one. To be honest with you, the living in a halfway house is weird because I didn't understand why his family wouldn't help him or where they were at in the situation. And I guess he's from another state. And obviously, if you have an agreement with the state of California, you probably can't leave the state. So, flag number one. Flag number two, doesn't have a car. And I was like, okay. And then I proceeded to go ahead and tell her, well, number one, I am still a mother of a underage child who is 16. And I did explain that, number one, when we are sleeping, we don't know what could happen. And we are at our most vulnerable. And God forbid, if something were to happen and their father found out, he would not show me any kindness or grace anyway, even through the legal system. And unfortunately, it's not because that he wants our son, but it's more of a way for him to control and different things like that and just make life difficult for us. Anywho, again, like I said, I'll explain a lot of that later on, and I don't know, maybe you guys can pick that apart or refer me to a good therapist. I don't know. Anywho, I explained all this to her and I told her no. So she was like, okay. And she was a little upset, I could tell, but I was expecting that, to be honest with you. Anywho, a couple days later, I wasn't here at the house. The baby wasn't here. Her son wasn't here. He was visiting his aunt and his great-grandparents and stuff like that. But my youngest son, who's 16, was here. And she brought this person home. The house was just a disarray. I don't know exactly what happened. I guess she must have cooked for him or something like that. And then brought him up to my room where the baby and I sleep and basically had sex with him. And when I confronted her about it, was acting like I'm an asshole. Because I spoke the truth. And the number one thing that I started off with was, girl, do you know your value? I often feel like, she said to me, like, well, I could have just lied to you. And I was like, well, you did. And number two, she was like, well, I'm doing a lot better than I was when I was in my addiction. And I know we need to look back to see how far we've come in certain places, but also the comparison of the two, you're not there anymore. So why not go ahead and compare where you are now and align yourself with what you want to be and what you want in the future and for yourself and for your son. And I was like, number one, I haven't met this person and he felt it was a good idea to come to my house. Number one, not knowing me, not meeting me. And I did go ahead and explain to her, well, if you want him to meet me, then, we can go to lunch or we can go to dinner, because that's just what I deserve. I'm sorry to say that, but actually I'm not sorry to say that. It is what I deserve. I do a lot for my children. I do a lot for the people that I love. I take care of a lot of things. And I haven't always taken care of myself. And to be honest with you, I know I've definitely set myself on fire to keep others warm. And I think in a really terrible way, I have definitely taught that to my daughter because she felt, and I was trying to go ahead and relay this to her, that her worth, what she basically told him was, you don't have to try. You don't have to better your situation in any way, because you can just come over to where I live and where my mom lives and my sons and my brothers, and we can go ahead and be disrespectful there. Like, that's literally what she taught him was, it's okay to disrespect my mom, and it's okay for you to go ahead and disrespect me and for you not to grow. And that is the major issue that I have, is that there was no respect for herself, right? And oftentimes I feel when addicts are in the throes of addiction, there's a lot of shame, there's a lot of embarrassment, there's a lot of different things, and there's also a lot of disrespecting yourself, right? Things that you would not normally do, things that you would either accept, things that you would do when you are in the throes of addiction. And it feels like, to me, the same thing, except we're not talking about, fentanyl, cocaine, whatever it is. We're now talking about someone filling you up, filling that void, And I have asked her to go ahead and go to therapy, and her reply was, I have a sponsor. I don't need to go to therapy. And even though a sponsor is great to have, right? It's great to have somebody who can understand where you've been, different things like that. But however, I was like, there's different types of coaches on here. Like if you play baseball, you have a batting coach, you have a pitching coach, you have a fielding coach, you have someone who, defensive base running, offensive base running, et cetera, right? Because there's many coaches in the game. And that's what I was trying to explain to her, is that the coaches of the game, and it's not just one person. And I feel like, they kind of reiterate this thing of like, oh, well, you're not in the throes of addiction like where you were before. But you kind of are, because you are still making choices that are based upon you fulfilling a need. They're not choices that I feel like that you're thinking about the future and what I want for myself and who I'm with and who I'm giving my energy to and whose energy I'm receiving back. And I feel like it's just like replacement of another addiction out there. Again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm not, but that's what happened yesterday. And I don't know, maybe I'll go back and revisit this topic, or I'm sure I will, to be honest with you, because it's, healing is definitely a journey, not a one-time conversation. But I have really now come to find that I have to put boundaries up for me. I can't keep doing this trying to protect my grandson, because I am literally miserable. This is not where I want to be. This is not what I want to feel. This is not where I want my life to go. And even though I love him so much and I am so scared about what can happen to him, I know that I have to let that go. And I can't feel like I'm hostage to not being able to see my grandson. And that's a really hard pill to swallow. I mean, just something that I am learning to accept. Letting go. So, I don't know. We'll see where this goes. Bye for now.